I want you to think of something. The phrase, history is bound to repeat itself. You on board with me? So you had Greek mythology. I want you to think about all the way back into Greek mythology. They had stories, they had plays written about gods in the heaven, right? And they believed and they worshiped, they did these things to please these gods in heaven, right? So you had that. Then we have history bound to repeat itself. Along comes the Bible, a story of Jesus Christ's lives and his 12 disciples and many other players in the background that they were involved with. You understand? Gospels built into this Bible. Stories for everybody to believe in the one true God in heaven. So we can worship, we can believe in something greater than ourselves that gave us life. Tying this together now. Are you tying it together? History bound to repeat itself. I know you're on board with me. So, if you think of it this way, for eons they had plays centered around Greek mythology. Think of the Bible as one great play, inspired by God himself, coming down in human form into a human vessel called Jesus. And Jesus had this great manuscript, but he had to hire on the right actors, the 12 disciples that would go through to the end and would perish. He knew they'd perish for their beliefs. Well, 11 did. One was casted out. So you had this great play, this great manuscript. And it's a love story, a manuscript full of love, ups and downs. Something you can draw back on to believe in something greater than ourselves, supernatural, and that one day we even can do supernatural things ourselves. Tying it together, guys, history repeated itself. Some say that the Bible was just a bunch of rewritten stories from Greek mythology. No. See, when God has a beautiful play to put on, like he did in Greek mythology, but it was multiple gods, right? But God was the centerpiece on that one, right? When he has a beautiful play that needs to be played out, you can put the manuscript in the world. If it was just a book, how many people would believe in it? How many people would still be reading it today? But someone had to be here on planet Earth to act these out, to bring validity to the play. See, how do I put this? Everybody wants to say that the Bible is just rewritten 1,000 times over. I'll tell you why it was written 1,000 times over. Because of us, man. We want to control everything. We want to find a way to control the masses best way we can, to keep the pews full and all that. That's the way Rome was handing out forgiveness for money. They were doing that. That's how they started off. That's how they got so big. They were handing out forgiveness for money. So when you hand them a beautiful manuscript, the Bible, which the actors played out and died, of course they're going to manipulate that. Of course it's like sitting on a gold mine. They're going to do that. They're going to omit things or to keep things for themselves. It's man, we're fallible. Look at the Pharisees and what they tried to do, what they did to Jesus, and how they wanted to control the masses. And if you weren't controllable, you were a heathen. When we put our hands on something, it becomes fallible. That's our flaw. That's one of our many flaws that we have. So yes, the Bible was rewritten, but that doesn't mean the Gospels weren't real and that they weren't inspired by God. And that wasn't that was the most beautiful play ever written. I just want you guys to think of that. God bless. Namaste.